Not that we just answer Sheffield, and
Can I ask Sheffield Beach House?
are they?
Yeah, I've asked the question.
It should be.
Can you hear us?
Evening all, I can hear you, I think.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
I'm currently sitting outside Laysdown Beach Huts.
Laysdown Beach House.
I think because we're in
Ah, so we will do
But I'm making some sort of demonstration, but I can't think over what. And I thought I'd switch my camera off, so I will do that now.
That's very natural. Can we all recognise Emma?
Yeah. She didn't spare room.
Sure, you could go online and just get in the link so you can view it that way, but he won't be able to speak.
Poor lass.
We're having a horrible time, Emma. We would.
It's very hot in here because the sun is beaming through this box room. In fact, it's at least I'm not wearing a shirt and tie like David and Martin are. Madness. They make the effort.
Promise not to take it off halfway through the meeting.
Martin's focused on.
You haven't seen what's on the bottom end, though, Emma.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the water.
I'll take it up with things.
I think it's what it is in the website.
I was thinking his apologies.
Alistair's spiking in, I think.
Oh, right.
Different Alistair. It was Councillor Gould we were talking about.
Oh, apologies.
Pay attention to the karaoke. Oh, no. Well, everybody does mine, I don't get a microphone phone.
That's fine, I tend to do I Will Survive.
Really? Let's give back over my phone, we don't let them get it wrong. I have to see the red flag. I've seen that. What? The land, welcome members, members who are in the chamber, officers who are visiting us remotely, and any other members who are visiting remotely, and any members of the public. Welcome to this cabinet meeting in the council chamber on Wednesday, the 9th of June. I am required to say something about emergency evacuation, but you all know what it means. There's no real plan, so if the bells do go off, we need to leave by the nearest available exit. We do not go into the lifts. Here, I think it needs extra help, but on the occasion, then let us know. So, are there any apologies for absence?
Just apologies for absence from Councillor Thomas.
Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Are we agreed that they are an accurate record of our meeting? We agree. Any declarations of interest from members of this meeting? Firstly, Councillor Bonnie.
Yeah, just to say at the last full council, I was appointed as representative on the AONB Joint Advisory Committee. However, I've not yet sat on it, and neither have I had any input onto one of the items that come up on the agenda this evening. So I'm free to speak on it and vote on it.
Thank you for that, making that clear. Councillor Ben Martin and then Councillor Bulldog.
On item 8, the Housing Shareholder Board, I was appointed direct by the council secretary, taking on that. So that's a closed plenary.
Okay, and on the basis of that, then Councillor Polly would probably want to add the same.
Yes, it's
Interesting. Thank you. Councillor Bulldog?
Well, as a proposed member of the shareholder panel, I was wondering whether I could declare non-disposable pecuniary interest.
No. You're not one yet, so we have this meeting. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yes.
Just can I ask members, we know from previous planning committees that officers who are trying to hear, who may get asked questions, if members aren't speaking directly into their microphones, they're struggling. So can I ask that all members please make a special effort to speak directly into their microphone so colleagues and member colleagues can hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we move on to a major item now, the waste collection and street cleaning future provision. And that's in the name of Councillor Julian Saunders, Cabinet Member for the Environment. So Julian, would you like to introduce us, please?
Okay, thank you, Leader. What you're being asked to agree to tonight are the top level recommendations from the Cabinet Member Waste Working Group. And what they provide really is a framework for the re-tendering of the waste collection and street cleansing service. So there are 4 key recommendations here. The first is that we should carry on working in a partnership to procure the service. The second is that we should carry on with commingled recycling. We should have a residual waste, food waste and bulk waste collection service very much in line with what we do currently. The third recommendation is that we should contract out waste collection. Part of that, we should focus on meeting coalition priorities on climate and on recycling. And finally, the recommendation is that we should contract out street cleaning, but we do want to change the specification outcomes. So I won't say a lot, but I will make I think 5 key points. Really, first one is that there's evidence to support the current partnership being effective. We've had good results in improving recycling during the contract. We've been able to control costs, and it's allowed us to have a high degree of resilience in delivering the service. And we've found it quite possible to have shared objectives with our 2 local authority partners. Second point is that the service approach that we're planning to is based on consultation with both members, which was through the area committees, but also a public consultation, which you've got the results of. Which was particularly supportive of the waste collection approach that we've got. We are very concerned, to be specific on how we specify we're planning to deliver the service at this stage. There are central government consultations going on, which could change the rules and introduce fresh legislation around what we can do, what we actually have to do. And we want to make sure that we're in a position to claim any compensation that would be due to us. Our key we've passed through we're looking at for collection. There are current weaknesses in the street cleansing service, which we recognise, and there are particular problems in cleaning in rural and residential areas. The plan is to shift the way the service is modelled, or the costings of the service are modelled, in order to improve performance. And the final thing I want to emphasise is that we intend to use the tendering process and going out to the market as a way of pushing potential contractors to both reduce emissions and also to improve their performance around recycling. So I would very much recommend that this is passed through this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Saunders. I take it that you're proposing these recommendations. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer. And do any members wish to comment? Councillor Baldock.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think it's worth looking at the questionnaire responses. Over 72% satisfied or very satisfied with our bin collections, but against only 16 fairly satisfied or very dissatisfied, which I think is a strong endorsement of what we've been doing so far. I was a little surprised at nearly 40% saying we don't have a food waste container supply to our Wales Council. I thought we'd previously, I hope they've gone to nearly every house in the borough. I don't know if the people who didn't use them have forgotten about them, or people just didn't receive them. So it might be worth some clarity on that. Interesting that 60% of people do consider using electric vehicles as important, compared with just 8% who don't. A clear steer to us that we should be pursuing electric vehicles, which is our current process. It's really about recommendation 4 and questions 14 and 15 really do show that we've got a lot of work to do regarding the way that litter is dealt with and fly tipping. And I just wonder if we could have a little bit more update as to the avenues for improving both particular aspects of our service.
Okay, I know Councillor Harrison's waiting to come in, but I think Councillor Saunders, if you want to answer those questions, I think the thing about the food bin is interesting, and also obviously the litter is something that concerns us all. And if Mr. Cassell, if you're ready to come in from the Minster Lees at some point, we'll welcome your input.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there is still certainly a way to go in terms of food waste collection, and one of the things that officers are planning to do in the coming months is to run a number of food waste trials in areas where either there isn't a food waste collection at the moment, or collection rates are particularly low. In terms of electric vehicles, we are working in a partnership, so we need to work with the other local authorities on this. But certainly, one of the objectives of the tendering process would be to try and get improved tenderers in terms of the use of electric vehicles, carbon emissions. In relation to litter and fly tipping, I think it's recognised that we've got problems here, and I think it would probably make sense for the detail of how that might be addressed in the fresh test.
In particular, that last point about fly tipping. Can you hear me, Martin?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, Councillor Saunders was breaking up a little bit, so I apologies if I repeat a couple of things that Councillor Saunders has said. Yeah, I mean, Councillor Baldock is absolutely right. The survey is very, very clear on the street cleansing element of the contract. we know that that's one that we need to continue to work on in the current contract, and obviously look to try and resolve the issues that we have within the new contract. Without going into the whole detail that we went into on the working group, each area of each road in the borough is zoned 1 to 4, and that determines the level of cleansing that those roads get. What myself and the team on the request of the working party are doing are reviewing all of those roads within the borough ahead of them going into the tender specification, and that will obviously guide the contractors to bid in a certain way. So that is forensically being gone through by Alistair's team, Mr. Andrews' team at the moment, and is really gonna take the length of the summer before we go out to tender later on in the year. In terms of the food waste, yeah, I absolutely agree in terms of take up of that. Every household that is eligible for a food waste caddy has either been given one over time or is eligible to apply for one. There are what we call exempt properties within the borough. A lot of them are in Councillor Harrison's ward in Marine Town. There are a few in Faversham as well, and they are properties that don't have the alternate weekly collection, and up until very recently don't have the food waste offering done. The national government consultations will make it a requirement that every property is offered a food waste collection by I think, and Alistair, you're the expert on the consultations, but I think by 2023. And so Councillor Saunders talked about the pilots that we're doing later on this year in those areas to try and move everyone over to food waste. In terms of fly tipping, Councillor Truelove, yeah, absolutely. It's safe to say that we have seen an increase in the last year. Whether that is down to a number of reasons, whether that's people feeling they can get away with it because there are fewer people out and about on the roads, whether that's because people are generating more. So we continue to take a zero tolerance approach in our enforcement. So wherever we find evidence, we do prosecute. You will have seen in the news recently a great success we had over at Sheerness, where we caught a number of fly tippers and have issued the fixed penalty notices on that. So we continue to take zero tolerance, but absolutely we'll work on this contract in trying to get the removal as quick as possible after the report.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Have you got a short one to come back on?
Yes, very short. I'd like to thank Cabinet Member and Mr. Cattell for their very informative and reassuring answers. I just wonder, when people move, there's a lot of people who don't use their food waste bin, but I think it's quite constructive uses of little bins. I wonder, do we contact new people when they come in and say, did your food waste bin go missing? Or could we perhaps put something in a future edition of Inside Swale saying, if you haven't got a food waste bin, you can get one?
I'm happy to take that, Councillor Saunders.
So, would you come back on that?
Yeah, I'm sure there are lots of unique uses for our food caddy bins, Councillor Baldock. I'm sure there's lots of plants growing in them in various roads. The big crux this year, I mean, what this report shows and what the review of the contract has shown is actually, as a borough, we're very good at dry recycling. What we're not good at all is food waste and garden waste recycling. Now that could mean that we're all composting everything, but I think that's probably not the case in every household. And so the crux of our communications this year is going to be focused on that food waste, and that will really get across the message of, if you haven't got a caddy, contact us. We don't contact somebody every time we move, because clearly we don't always get that immediate contact of those, but anybody that inquires, it's in our interest to provide them with the food waste caddy on that, and we have a number on order in order to meet the demand from the comms campaign that we're going to release.
Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, obviously very pleased and will support the report. After many years, over 10 years of raising the issue of the lacked sack weekly collection in Sheerness, Marine Town to be precise, it looks like at long last we'll be doing something about that. And those properties have not had the opportunity to have a food waste bin. If I can recall correctly from the responses, the staff very kindly, with some help, delivered paper copies of the questionnaire to all the Marine Town properties that were on a weekly black sack collection. If I remember correctly, something like 20% of this 1,400 came from that Marine Town area. So the fact that the biggest impact of this consultation was going to be on Marine Town. So making a point of giving them a paper copy so that you know, they had proper access. Not everyone had a computer, don't forget. Meant that we did get a very good response. And a lot of those responses said, yes, we would be prepared to have a food waste bin, because they've never had it before. There were obviously other issues as well, but if you've got a weekly collection, you know, some people might think, well, why did I bother? They're collecting it every week, I'm just chucking it in the black sack. So hopefully, you know, most areas were here 10, 15 years ago. Simpson, when we did those blue bins, God knows when, and people are used to it now. And the households that do proper recycling, green bin, not that they would have it taken away, but their green bin is something like a quarter full, because they got into recycling. The only thing I would say on the recycling, I think we need to be very careful on the comms, because I read something in a national paper recently. Nespresso have done some survey rather, and people don't know what they can recycle. For example, do you know you can recycle that bubble plastic stuff, bubble wrap, and various other things? So unfortunately, because I thought, oh, I've got some now, I can put it in the bin. But I did contact our member of staff down there, and she said, there are places that recycle all these different things, but it isn't in your blue bin. Now, I wouldn't ask them, but I wouldn't mind betting that a number of people read that and thought, oh, blue bin. So maybe when these things come out, we could be on the front foot and actually put something out to say, you know, this has come out recently, it's not the blue bin thing. You know, it's a bit like the crisp packets, the pod things. So I think being on the front foot on the comms would mean less contamination. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do either of you want to respond to that, either cabinet member or officer?
Well, very briefly to say that the officers are trying to educate of what to put in their blue bins. There's a sticker campaign that's been going on at the moment. Again, might be able to say more about that.
I'll probably let Alistair come in there, guys.
Yes, come on, Alistair.
Hello there. Yeah, indeed. Thank you for the question, Councillor Harrison. Yeah, the government are currently consulting on a nationwide consistency campaign. They recognise that recycling could be increased if everyone across the country could recycle the same materials in the same way. So that consultation is currently out for responses at the moment. It closes in early July. I think many of the councils welcome the idea of making collections consistent, but it depends what consistent means overall. But certainly there is work to increase consistency across the whole of the country.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Bonny, would you like to come in now?
Yeah, I'll make it brief, thank you. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So I was part of the working group, and you know, we had some really extensive and very long discussions about all aspects of this contract, including those and how other areas do it, and looking across this. And you know, it is about the cost of the service versus, you know, and what we actually provide to our residents. And it is, I think, you know, I think ideally everyone likes to chuck everything in one bin and it gets recycled, but unfortunately, the systems behind the scenes don't work that way, certainly in our area. And I think there's lots of things in an ideal world we'd like to change, but we have to live with what we have. On the food waste, I was just wondering, when we get people phone up to say they're moving and they're going into, you know, I'm telling you for council tax purposes, is it possible we could ask them, have you full complement of bins at the same time? Is that a possibility through our call centre, do we think? Or is that already done?
Did you catch that, Mr. Cassell?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do ask those questions. We have the ability, particularly when somebody it's more often than not, somebody rings us and says, I've just moved in and whoever was here previously has taken all the bins. So they would get offered the full suite of bins that they are for the collections that they have. So vast majority of the borough would be offered the green bin, the blue bin, and the food waste caddy. Yes, we do offer it. Do we ask that specifically if they contact council tax? I'm not 100% certain. Alistair's just typed something.
Thank you. Is there anybody else asking to speak? No, okay. All right, it's been the four recommendations that have been proposed and seconded. Just before we go on, you mentioned the working group several times. I think it's a pretty modern way of putting a policy together. Several members worked very much up in detail over this for several months, and what you've got is an improvement, but it's pragmatic. It's taking account of the inevitable need to fit within our medium-term financial plan and so on. So, you know, thanks to those members who did that, and thanks to the two officers who got present for the work that they've done. So with that, will members indicate whether they wish to pass these four recommendations or not? Okay, that's NEMCOM. Okay, we move on to the recovery plan, which we agreed a recovery plan last September after quite a lot of considerable discussion. We had a member forum in July, but having agreed the recovery plan, we were then hit with such a severe second wave, and particularly, of course, we were hit especially in Swale. So the recovery plan probably a little bit of back position while we got on with the emergency situation, which we did as a council in a very effective way, with the grants going out to business very efficiently, with considerable help to vulnerable people, managing the hardship funding, providing accommodation for rough sleepers, monitoring public safety, and supporting public health and the NHS. And we all remember those week after week COVID meetings that we had with officers as we monitored it right the way through. And I think we did well as a council. The recovery plan that we originally put forward was very much built upon our own objectives and our own corporate plan, and so it continues to be. Effectiveness of it may depend slightly on our own funding, which we've allocated funding, and also the degree to which we can access government funding for recovery. And there's so many schemes floating around. Welcome back community renewal, the Levelling Up High Street Task Force, and we're working to get into all of those funding streams, which require quite a lot of thinking in order to do so. Table 1 sets out the vast range of objectives that around our recovery plan, our corporate plan: economic improvement, affordable housing, climate emergency, community and social inclusion, and the renewal of local democracy. So table 1 is our manual, as far as I can say. There's an awful lot to it. We'll do very well to deliver it. We're on the way with many parts of it. We've got quite a lot to do with other parts of it, but it's a very comprehensive, and I think it is a virtue of the council now that we know where we're trying to go. It does make a difference if you're doing that, rather than just working from day to day and muddling through. This is a very important document, and I ask members to note it, and the progress that we've made on the recovery plans indicated in Appendix 1. We've got Emma Wiggins on screen. So do you want to add anything, Emma, to what I've said?
Thank you, Chair. No, I think you've said everything I was going to say, Councillor Truelove. Just happy to take any comments or questions.
I propose that we accept this recommendation. Seconder, Councillor Baldock. Any comments that members want to make? It's an all-embracing document that I think we just say it's jolly good and we'll get on with it.
Yeah.
So all those in favour? And that's passed without any opposition.
Is the leader of the opposition not speaking tonight?
Well, they have the opportunity to.
I do.
But it's tracking them all over the place.
Oh, right.
So they have the right to. Well, if you buy that.
There is some with the IT.
So,
There is some problems with the IT.
oh, well, I'm not taking the blame for that. Right, agenda item 7 is a formality, I hope. We do have to make cabinet nominations to outside bodies. They're listed in Appendix 1. They are that we've already agreed. There's just one addition, if I can. There's a gap at the moment for the Kent Downs and Marshes Local Action Group, and we can't have the Kent Downs Marshes Local Action Group without a representative. So I'm proposing that we extend Councillor Tim Valentine to pursue that role. So with that clarification, I propose we adopt these, and you second it. Okay. Are you seconding or commenting? You second it, then we'll have the comments. Right.
Before we agree to pass, I think you have to make a decision with regard to Optivo Kent. I would say it has been a good period of time for me on Optivo Kent. It's not through not wanting to remain there. I just think it would be a conflict if the work of Rainbow Homes are room.
Yes.
Council will make an excellent job there.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Has anyone else not spotted that there were two nominations? No, I haven't spotted that. So actually, we do have to have a vote then before we can agree the whole. So can we have a vote on that, or do you want to discuss the virtues of Councillor Whelan and Councillor Tender? Probably not. So members in favour of Councillor Whelan. What's your number? Any other comments? Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, I should have picked it up before, but brain on the first page down the bottom, the Children's Centres District Advisory Board, formerly Swale DAB, is actually called, I'm just looking it up, the Swale District Partnership Congress.
That's very helpful.
And it's myself and the substitute of Councillor Hannah Parkin, who in reality goes, we agree that she goes under. So she.
Actually called substitutes in. If you could give Clark the amended name, then we'll assume it's the same body and vote accordingly. Councillor Baldock.
We have nominated some subs for some groups, but not others. Is there any reason why we haven't nominated subs for our group?
Would anybody like to help me with that? Mr. Clifford, would you like to come in and explain to us why we have subs for some of these outside groups and some not?
To the best of my knowledge, Leader, it's just custom and practice. I imagine that the ones which are perhaps felt by members generally to be more to need more of a council input probably have subs, and in the ones where we don't nominate subs, I imagine the representatives or the nominees are able to ask other subs to, people to go in their absence when they can't make meetings. I think primarily it's a question of custom and practice.
We take a vote on this. Those in favour? Thanks. All right, we go on to item 8, which is the housing company governance arrangements. We're all looking forward to the housing company actually starting projects, but there's governance arrangements have to be put in place. We've got directors and. Okay, yeah. You're going to leave it. I didn't say anything really important tonight.
No, you're right.
Try and watch the recording afterwards.
Okay, well, the two directors, member directors of the housing company have left, but we also have to have a shareholder panel of members to see that the interests and the direction that the council wants the company to take is properly represented. So if you look at 3.1, you can see the proposed nominations of the shareholder panel, and 3.2 see the terms of reference. So the proposed membership of the shareholder panel is myself, Councillor Baldock, Councillor Whelan, Councillor Perkins and Councillor Jays. I propose that we agree to the proposed membership of the shareholder board. Seconder, Councillor Harrison. Any comments? Councillor Baldock.
How long is the term of the appointment?
I don't know the layout term, is it? Yeah. It would be a matter for the council to decide.
It would be, yes, they would change if council were to change. It's not like they would change also that the directors have a legal statutory responsibility, but the board can be changed, the shareholder board can be changed by council decision. It's cabinet.
When we go beyond cabinet, how would it be done?
It would either be done, when you say beyond cabinet, it would either be a full council decision, or if we were in a different system, it would be a committee decision.
Thank you. Thank you. Are we agreed? Agreed. Okay. And lastly, item 9, Microsoft Enterprise Agreement Review.
Can we let our absconded members return?
Oh, yes.
We're here.
It's all right. It's all right. Yes. Okay, we're on that last item. Item 9 is the recommendation is to award the contract to Phoenix Software. I propose that we do that. Have we got a seconder? Is there any need to comment? Can we just take a vote then, please? Okay, that's agreed. Okay.
Yeah, we've got local plan panel.
Well, I haven't got that.
Yeah.
This is paperwork.
Oh, here, fair one there. There you go.
If you all. It's, right. Stop on down the hands. Okay, so these are the recommendations to the local plan panel. Would you like to propose them, Councillor Morgan?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Councillor Gould for an excellent chairing of the local plan panel in my absence. Here it was done in 12 minutes. I'm sure I'd talk for longer. So yes, basically this is to note the recommendations, effectively to adopt the Kent Downs Area of Natural Beauty, Outstanding Natural Beauty Management Plan 2021-26. But it takes effect on the date to be confirmed by the Kent Downs AONB. The Head of Planning Services be given delegated powers to agree minor changes to the management plan that may be put forward prior to the plan's formal adoption. I'm happy to move those. Move would be approved.
Somebody like a second? Those in favour? Thank you very much. That's the meeting now. There's not there. It's just right. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to the officers who attended. Thank you. And I see Councillor Pierce there too.
So the meeting, do you think that if we're going to keep this up, we could have a pair of binoculars? Because I can't read it.
No, officers shouldn't be using the meeting chat to give answers. It just should only be used to alert that they have an answer and they need to give the answer.